You wake up every morning and you assume that you are the same person who went to sleep the night before. You look in the mirror, see the same familiar lines around your eyes, and you think you understand the continuity of your own existence. You believe that for 60 seconds of your life you are a solid, unchanging observer of a solid, unchanging world. You think you know how your brain works because you feel it working. It feels like a steady hum, a consistent stream of consciousness that carries you from one minute to the next without a glitch or a gap. But I want you to look closer at that minute. I want you to stop taking the stability of your own mind for granted. Because if we actually peer into the machinery of what is happening inside your skull during a single 60-second interval, the reality is far more chaotic and far more beautiful than anything your intuition tells you. Nature is a master of disguise. She makes the complex look simple and the miraculous look mundane. You see a tree and you think it is just sitting there, but it is actually a vertical river defying gravity through pressures and electrical gradients that would make a Victorian engineer weep. Your brain is the same. It presents you with a smooth cinematic experience, a seamless movie of you moving through time. But behind the curtain, the film is being spliced together from a billion jagged fragments. If we were to freeze time and look at just 60 seconds of human neurological activity, we wouldn't see a person. We would see a storm of electrical discharges and chemical cascades so intense that it's a wonder the whole thing doesn't just melt into a puddle of organic static. Think about a historical perspective for a moment. Someone like Tesla looked at the world not as a collection of objects, but as a system of vibrations and frequencies. He understood that everything we see is just a manifestation of energy in different states of resonance. When we apply that kind of thinking to the human brain, the obvious starts to fall away. We assume the brain is a computer made of meat processing bits of information, but a computer is a closed system. The brain is an open antenna. In 60 seconds, your brain is not just thinking, it is vibrating in response to the entire electromagnetic environment of the planet. We like to think of our thoughts as internal secrets, but they are more like the music played by a radio. If you take the radio apart, you won't find the music inside. You'll only find the components that allow the music to manifest. For 60 seconds, your brain is tuning into a frequency of reality that neuroscientists are still trying to map, and the deeper they go, the less the traditional maps make sense. Let's talk about the meat and the gears of this process. When you sit there for a minute, there are roughly 100 billion neurons in your head, and each one is connected to thousands of others. During those 60 seconds, these neurons are firing electrical impulses called action potentials. Imagine a vast field of tall grass. Now imagine a spark jumping from one blade to another, then another, spreading like a wildfire in a specific pattern. That is a thought, but it isn't just electricity. It is a physical movement of ions, little charged particles like sodium and potassium rushing in and out of tiny gates in the cell walls. It's like a billion microscopic doors slamming shut and swinging open all at once. The meat of your brain is a pulsating, wet, salty engine that is constantly resetting its own chemical balance just so it can fire the next spark. Neuroscientists can watch these sparks. They can put you in a machine and see which parts of the brain light up when you think of a lemon or when you feel a pang of nostalgia. But here is the pivot, the wait a minute that keeps us up at night. They can see the spark, but they cannot see the thought. They can see the sodium ions moving, but they cannot find the you that is experiencing the color yellow or the feeling of love. In 60 seconds, millions of these signals traverse your cortex, but the bridge between the physical movement of an atom and the subjective experience of a memory remains a total mystery. It's as if we are looking at the ink and the paper of a book and trying to understand the plot of the story without knowing how to read. We see the chemistry, but the consciousness is nowhere to be found in the test tubes. I'm being a bit sloppy here, of course. The math of neural networks is incredibly sophisticated. We have equations that describe how a group of neurons can represent a pattern. We can even mimic this in silicon chips to create artificial intelligence. But the math hints at something we can't truly see. It hints at an emergent property, a ghost in the machine that appears when the complexity reaches a certain threshold. In those 60 seconds, your brain is maintaining a state of criticality. This is a physics term for being right on the edge of a phase transition. Think of a pile of sand. If you add one more grain, the whole thing might collapse in an avalanche, or it might just sit there. Your brain stays exactly at that tipping point where it is stable enough to keep you alive but unstable enough to react to a sudden sound or a new idea. It is a 60-second tightrope walk between total order and total chaos. If we dive deeper into the visceral nature of this, consider the sheer speed. Light travels at an incredible velocity, but the signals in your brain are relatively slow, maybe a few hundred miles per hour. Yet in 60 seconds, the information has traveled far enough to circle your internal networks thousands of times. It's like a fleet of tiny glass ships carrying messages across a stormy chemical sea. Every time a message arrives at a destination, a synapse, it releases a cloud of neurotransmitters. These are the bullets of light I'm talking about. They are physical molecules, little keys that have to fit into specific locks on the next neuron. If the key doesn't fit, the message dies. If it fits too well, the system overloads. Your brain is a delicate balance of yes and no, excitation and inhibition. During that minute you spent reading this, your brain has performed more yes-no decisions than all the computers on Earth combined. Tesla used to talk about the world as a medium for energy. He believed we were meat machines driven by the cosmic rays and the vibrations of the ether. While we don't use those exact terms today, the fundamental law of physics he was touching on is true. Energy is never lost, it only changes form. In 60 seconds, the energy you took in from your morning toast is being converted into the electrical potential that allows you to contemplate the universe. Your brain is a furnace. It consumes 20% of your body's oxygen and calories just to keep the lights on. It is a high-maintenance piece of biological jewelry. If the flow of blood stops for just a few of those 60 seconds, the glass ships start to sink, the gears jam, and the narrative of you begins to dissolve. What neuroscientists can't explain is the binding problem. This is the great gap in our understanding. In 60 seconds, your brain processes the sound of a clock ticking, the feel of the chair against your back, the smell of coffee, and the visual data of these words. These are all handled in different parts of the brain. The sound is over here, the touch is over there, the vision is in the back. There is no central command center where it all comes together. There is no little man sitting in a theater watching a screen, and yet you experience it as a single unified moment. You don't feel like a collection of data points. You feel like a person in a room. How the brain binds these shards of glass into a single beautiful mirror is something we simply do not know. We have theories about synchronized vibrations, that the neurons all fire at the same frequency to signal they belong to the same experience, but it's still just a guess. The math suggests it, but the mechanism is hidden. During those 60 seconds, your brain is also constantly editing. It is a ruthless censor. There is a massive amount of noise in the world, the feeling of your socks, the hum of the refrigerator, the internal signals from your liver. Your brain decides that none of that is important, so it throws it away before it ever reaches your conscious mind. You are living in a highly curated reality. If your brain stopped editing for 60 seconds, you would be overwhelmed by a psychedelic explosion of raw data. You would feel the air molecules hitting your skin like tiny pebbles. You would hear the blood rushing through your own ears like a waterfall. We are only sane because our brains are excellent at ignoring the universe. I think about the beauty of this limitation. We are built to see only a tiny slice of the electromagnetic spectrum, to hear only a narrow band of frequencies, and to remember only a fraction of what happens to us. This isn't a bug. It's a feature. It allows us to focus. It allows us to have a now, but that now is a construction. In any 60-second window, your brain is actually living slightly in the past. It takes time for the signals to reach the cortex and be processed. When you see a flash of lightning, your brain takes a fraction of a second to tell you about it. To compensate, the brain actually predicts the future. It fills in the motion of objects so that you can catch a ball or avoid a falling branch. You are never truly in the present. You are always in a predicted version of the immediate future, based on a processed version of the immediate past. This brings us to the philosophical weight of the 60 seconds. We are temporary patterns in 100 years. Every atom in your brain right now will be scattered back into the earth or the atmosphere. The atoms themselves don't matter. It's the pattern they form that makes you who you are, and that pattern is incredibly fragile. We are like the waves in the ocean. The water stays more or less where it is, but the wave moves through it, giving the illusion of a solid object traveling across the surface. Your consciousness is that wave. In 60 seconds, the wave has moved, the chemicals have shifted, the electrical state has reset, and yet the you persists. We like to think we are masters of our domain, that we are the captains of our souls. But science shows us that for much of that 60 seconds, we are on autopilot. The brain makes decisions before we are even aware of them. There are famous experiments where researchers could see a person's brain preparing to move a hand seconds before the person decided to move it. This challenges our very notion of free will. Are we just watching a pre-recorded show? I don't think it's that simple. I think the decision is a massive distributed process that involves the whole organism, and the awareness of the decision is just the final report being filed. There is a certain honesty in admitting that we are still in the dark ages of understanding the brain. We have these incredible tools, fMRI, optogenetics, deep brain stimulation, but they are like trying to understand the internet by measuring how much heat a laptop gives off. We are missing the fundamental language. Tesla believed that once we start studying non-physical phenomena, we will make more progress in one decade than in all previous centuries. He was talking about the invisible forces, the fields, and the resonances. Perhaps the secret of the 60-second brain isn't in the meat at all, but in the way the meat interacts with the fundamental fields of the universe. When you look at a star, the light hitting your eye has traveled for years, maybe centuries. In that 60 seconds of looking at the sky, your brain is connecting with the deep history of the cosmos. The photons that were born in the heart of a fusion furnace are finally ending their journey by triggering a chemical reaction in your retina. This isn't just poetry. It's literal physics. You are the universe looking back at itself, and your brain, with all its messy chemistry and mysterious gaps, is the most complex structure we have found in the entire known universe. It is a piece of the cosmos that has woken up and started asking questions. Think about the silence between the thoughts. In 60 seconds, there are moments where the firing slows, where the system pauses for a microsecond. In those gaps, what happens? That is where the mystery lives. We focus so much on the activity, the doing, the thinking, the signals, but the being might be in the stillness. The math of physics often finds that the vacuum isn't empty. It's full of potential energy. Perhaps the brain is the same. Perhaps our most profound moments aren't the ones where the neurons are screaming at each other, but the ones where they fall into a perfect, quiet harmony. I often feel that we are like children playing with a pocket watch. We can hear it ticking, we can see the hands move, and if we are very clever, we can pry the back open and see the brass gears turning. We can even name the gears. This is the amygdala, this is the hippocampus, this is the prefrontal cortex. But we still don't truly understand what time is. We name the parts of the brain, but we don't understand how they create the person. We are looking at the hardware and trying to infer the soul. In 60 seconds, you have inhaled and exhaled several times. You have pumped blood through every inch of your body. You have replaced thousands of cells. You have processed 1 million bits of sensory information. And you have done it all without trying. The sheer competence of the biological machine is staggering. It manages this complexity with a grace that no human-made machine can replicate. A computer that could do what your brain does in 60 seconds would require a nuclear power plant to run and a river to cool it. You do it on a sandwich and a cup of tea. There is a visceral reality to the fact that we are walking contradictions. We are made of the same stuff as rocks and stars, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, yet we have this strange internal light. We are governed by the cold, hard laws of thermodynamic entropy is always trying to tear us apart, to turn our organized brain back into disorganized dust. Yet, for 60 seconds at a time, we defy that entropy. We maintain our structure. We maintain our usness. Life is a temporary rebellion against the second law of thermodynamics. Every minute you stay alive is a victory in a war that you will eventually lose, but the fact that the rebellion happens at all is the most interesting thing in the world. So when you think about those neuroscientists who can't explain what happens to your brain, don't think of it as a failure of science. Think of it as a tribute to the complexity of nature. We are standing at the edge of a great ocean, and we have only just wetted our toes. The mystery isn't a wall. It's a door. It's an invitation to keep looking, to keep wondering, and to stop being so sure that we know what we are. For 60 seconds, you are a localized miracle. You are a swirling vortex of energy and matter that has somehow gained the ability to contemplate its own existence. Tesla once said that my brain is only a receiver. In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. I have not penetrated into the secrets of this core, but I know that it exists. Whether you believe in a core or just in the incredible emergent properties of matter, the sentiment remains the same. There is something larger than the sum of our parts. In 60 seconds, your brain is reaching out into that something. It is processing the environment, the gravity, the light, and the social connections that define a human life. It is a beautiful, messy, incomprehensible dance. We are limited by our senses. Yes, we are shards of glass trying to reflect the sun, but in that reflection there is a truth. The truth is that you are not a thing. You are a process. You are a 60-second event that repeats itself until the day you die, and each repetition is slightly different. You are never the same person twice. The atoms change, the memories shift, the connections strengthen or fade. You are a river, not a rock, and that is why it's so hard to explain. You can't catch a river in a net. You can only watch it flow and marvel at the way the light catches the ripples. So the next time you have a spare minute, don't just fill it with noise. Sit with the mystery, feel the bullets of light firing in your cortex, feel the meat of your brain doing the heavy lifting of keeping your reality together. Acknowledge that you are a biological marvel that science can describe but not yet fully explain. There is a deep humility in that realization. It connects us to the ancient explorers and the future scientists. We are all just trying to understand the music that the radio is playing. The world is a much stranger place than it looks on the surface. We walk around in a dream of stability, but beneath that dream is a reality of vibrating strings, jumping electrons, and chemical storms. For 60 seconds, you are the eye of that storm. You are the point where the universe becomes aware of itself. And even if the neuroscientists can't give us a final answer, the fact that we can even ask the question is enough. It is the beauty of the unknown that keeps us moving forward. It is the shards of glass that for a brief moment come together to show us a glimpse of the infinite. We are bound by time, yet we can think about eternity. We are bound by gravity, yet our minds can soar to the edge of the universe. In 60 seconds, you can travel further in your thoughts than any spaceship will ever go. That is the true power of the human brain. It is a bridge between the physical and the metaphysical. It is the place where math becomes meaning. And while I might be a bit sloppy with the details, the core truth is solid. You are more than you think you are. You are a 60-second masterpiece of cosmic engineering, and the fact that we don't fully understand it just makes the masterpiece all the more wonderful. Nature doesn't care if we understand her. She will keep spinning the electrons and firing the neurons whether we have the equations right or not. Our job isn't to solve the mystery, but to live within it, to feel the warmth of the coffee, the weight of the air, and the spark of a new idea. To be human for 60 seconds is to be a part of a grand experiment that has been running for billions of years. We are the latest iteration, the most complex version yet, and as we look into the dark spaces of our own minds, we shouldn't be afraid of what we don't know. We should be proud that we are the kind of creatures that want to know. In the end, it always comes back to the connection. Everything is connected. Your brain is connected to your body to the earth to the sun, and the sun to the galaxy. In 60 seconds, those connections are reinforced a billion times over. You are a knot in the fabric of reality. A place where the threads come together in a particularly interesting way. When the 60 seconds are up, the knot is still there, but the threads have moved. You are a dynamic, living, breathing expression of the universe's laws, and that, my friend, is better than any explanation a textbook could ever give you. We are the mystery, and we are also the ones trying to solve it. What a strange and wonderful position to be in just 60 seconds, and yet an entire lifetime of wonder is packed into it. Look at the clock. Another minute has passed. You are still here. The sparks are still firing. The gears are still turning, and the story goes on.